Welcome back to The Parent Solution, your one-stop shop for all things educational. Today I'm chatting about what is a good education. So what is a good education? Oftentimes this is a mantra that's repeated, usually from parent to child or from educator to student. You need to have a good education. Where does this sort of idea come from, and why do we say such a thing in the first place? So this past week, I had a conversation with a student. We were having a conversation about developing structurally sound essays, and the question of positive reinforcement arose. This kind of idea centered around grades and whether students, in particular high school students, should receive rewards for achieving what you might term as good grades. So naturally, I asked the student what the importance was of getting good grades. And he provided me with this precise answer. Well, I need to have a good education. So when I pushed him as to why exactly one needed a good education, he had to think about it for a moment. Now, he did think, and he thought pretty carefully. He's a very smart kid, a very smart boy. So after some careful consideration, he said that he thought a good education was necessary to get a good job, which, upon further probing, he said was important to being able to live a stable life. And this, of course, means that he would be happy, because a good job equated to more financial freedom, and this meant that he could do things that would make him happy. He noted, even if the job itself did not. So that makes sense, right? On the surface, of course it does. There's not anything wrong with wanting to live a comfortable life or to do or buy or attain things that give us momentary pleasure. But that's just it. Those pleasures are momentary. Are we supposed to chase one pleasure after another and to teach our children to chase one more thing, one more promotion, one more achievement? For what? What is that all for? To keep ourselves and arguably them, quote unquote, happy? Now, I of course realized that this student was not speaking from his own personal experience, but rather from a set of what you might call societal expectations and preconceived notions that have been passed on to him from institutions and establishments that he, of course, has been exposed to over the course of his lifetime. So while having this set of beliefs in particular is not in itself a problem, this is understandable to have this sort of belief system given the surrounding environment and the atmosphere of the world we live in today. It is a problem that we have a blinding belief that everyone must adhere to these things, or that the majority must adhere to these things, or to complete or perform this grocery list of sorts, in order to find what we think is true happiness in life. While having a good education, however you classify the term, that is important to the development and progression of human society, it's by no means a replacement for genuine happiness in life. And this is what a good education is seen as. It's seen as the pathway by which one can attain true happiness. Now we get to the crux of the issue. Why is this set of beliefs a problem? For the exact reason that this student voiced his answer to me. Now, while this student in particular is intelligent enough to realize that money is not going to solve his problems, he also recognizes that it's important to do something that he loves as a career. Because life is meant to be lived. It's not meant to be whiled away in a jail cell for 8 to 15 hours a day on account of a paycheck. Now, this student of mine here, his parents are in agreement that their son will do something that he loves, and they will be happy as long as he is with his state of affairs in life. He's got some very smart parents, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But I do know that this is not always the case. How many other children out there are forced or coerced or pressured into something that they do not want to do, with the biggest factor of that job being the money? While there's lots of varying statistics online and in books and that have been published, etc., on how many people like their job or their career, it's most certainly, the consensus seems to be that it's most certainly under 40%. How on earth can we expect our children to choose jobs or careers that they like, or start businesses that are based on a passion, when we as adults do not exemplify that for them? So the solution for this is pretty simple. Encourage your children to do what they love, not what makes them money. Now, of course, finances are always a consideration, but they're not the most important factor in why a child should choose a certain career or job or start a business. The majority of adult life is spent at work. Instead of trying to figure out ways in which we can work less, how about we focus on making sure that people are happy in the workplace? And that starts with liking the actual job itself. There's a quote by Annie Dillard that I really like that I think very well sums up this entire issue. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you all. As always, new episodes premiere every Tuesday at 5 a.m. on Spreaker. I'm your host, Kimberly, and remember, this is The Parent Solution, your one-stop shop for all things educational.